Fantasy playoffs are right around the corner. We got week 12 waiver wire ads and a playoff preview for strength of schedule heading into the fantasy playoffs. No bye weeks in week 12. We got the full allotment of our players. Let's make it happen right now on the Razzball Fantasy Football Show. What up, Razzballers? Welcome back to the program. Nice to be with you for a solo episode. I haven't done a solo episode in quite a while, but my name is Sky Guasco. I'm your host for this evening. My man Matt Stiles, who usually joins me on these shows on Tuesdays, is out traveling with some family. I'm actually on my way down to California as well to visit my family this weekend for Thanksgiving. We're wishing everybody safe travels during the Thanksgiving weekend. I've seen a lot of kind of, dangerous driving and slick roads and wet rain and snow and sleet and things up in the Northwest here. So wherever you're traveling, be safe, be careful, enjoy yourself, and have a great time traveling this holiday season in general, and certainly kicking off this weekend. Hope everybody has a great time with your relatives, with your family, new family, I'm sure, with relationships, kids, what have you. So enjoy yourself, be compassionate, be kind, and be patient with those around you in your lives. We're breaking down the Week 12 waiver wire ads. I'm going to run through Matt Stiles' article per usual. Now, if you're, a regular on the show, you know that we do this every single week, and we generally just have Matt kind of run down. I'm going to do it for him since he's on a bye week himself. I'm also going to, on the second half, I've been doing trade targets over the last couple of months, but I'm actually going to switch gears because most trade deadlines have actually surpassed at this point. I'm actually going to look ahead to the fantasy playoffs for this week, and then I'll start breaking down week to week on the way to the playoffs what the strength of schedule looks like. So if you happen to have a bye week left for Thanksgiving week, which I generally do if I commission a league, I run it through this week. If you have one available, you might be able to make some last-minute trades, and I'll let you know maybe less about the guys to go get and maybe some guys to trade away to help bolster your roster. Pick up a couple extra pieces, sell high on a few guys that may not have the best strength of schedule heading down the stretch and into your fantasy playoffs, and of course can help you win those hashtag Razzball titles. Now, before we get into it, of course, I want to make sure everybody is following everything Razzball here. We would so appreciate, and we are already so grateful for everybody's support here. The first year of building this much larger team and all of our incredible writers behind the scenes, everybody putting in so much work on the podcast and in the articles as well. It would mean the world to us if you could please just take 1 second and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, please subscribe and rate, review the podcast as well. Those of you traveling, you're driving, you're sitting in the back seat, you're sitting shotgun, whatever. Maybe you're rolling solo like I will be this weekend when you're driving. Kick out a couple of podcasts, catch up on our networks heading into a big week. Of course, we got the Thursday night games and a full slate without any bye weeks this week. So enjoy the podcast. Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. You can download anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Find everything Razzball Fantasy on Twitter. And again, you can find all of our free articles on razzball.com. Okay, let's get into it here. We have Matt's article that I'm going to get through here. Again, you can find that featured article today on razzball.com, and then I'll get into some of my fades, maybe some players that I'm not excited about, some key players, some must-start players usually in the fantasy playoffs, some guys I'm not exactly thrilled about. So let's keep an eye on that. Again, I am your host, Sky Guasco. Please follow me on Twitter at SKYGUASCO, rolling solo with you this evening. So please hold tight for those of you jumping in the comment section. I will get to as many as possible once available. All right, without any further ado, let's get into the Week 12 waiver wire ads. Now, Matt always puts up his Week 12, or his week waiver wire ad of the week. And this one's a fun. I mean, we haven't seen him yet. It's rookie Jameson Williams of the Detroit Lions. Only 22% rostered right now. He's been a stash for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. You may already have him. You may be able to get him last minute. He's a guy that I'm looking to just stash, see what happens. We got DJ Chark coming back right now, but you have like guys in and out constantly for this Lions offense, moving the ball well, scoring points, most of it through the running backs with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. But Jameson Williams, a great high upside player last year. We saw Amon-Ra St. Brown catch absolute fire down the stretch. He was the league-winning wide receiver over the back half of the season. Maybe Jameson Williams is that type of guy as well. So keep an eye on Jameson Williams, Detroit Lions, 22% rostered so far. Wide receiver, go look at him as the start of the week at the wide receiver position. I'll throw another couple guys in there that are must-adds if available. Samaje Perine for the Cincinnati Bengals, 3 touchdowns. Joe Mixon most likely missing with a concussion. And Latavius Murray, who should be available as well. Melvin Gordon was released somehow. I think Latavius Murray, I think Darrell Henderson, who also was released. Darrell Henderson and Melvin Gordon, I think, end up probably on the Chiefs or the Jets. That's going to be my bold prediction for those two guys. Playoff teams could use some veteran leadership, could use some, backs there for change of pace at least. They can both catch the ball. So I like the Jets and the Chiefs to look at those guys. But Latavius Murray's played well in his opportunity with the Broncos. Chase Edmonds comes over from the Cardinals, right? He gets released. He gets picked up by the Broncos. Doesn't do much there. Then you have also, obviously, Javonte Williams has gone down. And then for the Rams as well, Cam Akers, if somehow floating around out there, pick him up. And then Kyron Williams for the Rams also. So a lot of like must-add players. This is one of the better late season waiver wire adds I think I've seen, frankly, in recent history with the names available and the immediate impact potentially. Okay, let's take a look at some of the quarterbacks in single quarterback leagues. Again, usually in Superflex, these guys are not available, but in single quarterback leagues, take a look at Ryan Tannehill. Played very well. Treylon Burks had had his best game as a pro. A lot of that came on that kind of desperation run out the clock play at the end. Nonetheless, he got the yardage and it was garbage time points, but they all count in fantasy. 16% rostered Ryan Tannehill for the Tennessee Titans. Now, again, you got some guys going down. We don't have bye weeks this week, but if you're looking for the future there, you want to get some reassurance maybe you got Justin Fields, right? Taylor Heinicke is another guy you can look at as well. Matt Ryan, Kenny Pickett, Jacoby Brissett in his last game before Deshaun Watson comes back, and also Deshaun Watson himself. So if you're desperate at quarterback for whatever reason, go ahead and take a look at Tannehill, Heinicke, Matt Ryan, Pickett, and Brissett. Let's take a look at the running back position. I had already mentioned Samaje Perine, Latavius Murray, maybe even Cam Akers, Kyron Williams. There's a number of players there. Let's also take a look at Isiah Pacheco. A lot of these guys are available. Pacheco available in 36% of leagues. Samaje Perine available in 60% of leagues. And Latavius Murray available in 75% of leagues right now. Also take a look at Damian Harris potentially. Gus Edwards, who's kind of been in and out, but when he's on the field, he's quite productive. And James Cook, brother of Dalvin Cook, played very well for the Buffalo Bills, only rostered in 17% of leagues. We talked about Perine and Murray. Pacheco had 100 yards rushing, right? 7th rounder, not a lot of draft capital, but he had 7 yards per carry, very Jamal Charles-esque, a throwback for you OGs out there. He's only seen about 3 targets, right? So he's not getting that pass game work. That's all Jerick McKinnon. However, high-powered offense. Chiefs looked real good against the Chargers. They're going to look good moving forward. Obviously, they're going to be making a playoff run here. And CEH is hurt / not productive and just not playing for the Chiefs. Jerick McKinnon is strictly a third down back and, a 2nd and 26 type back, which, of course, the Chiefs just convert all of those 3rd and 18s. Which is insane. But nonetheless, Isiah Pacheco is the first down, second down back and the goal line back right now, unless they bring in a Melvin Gordon / Darrell Henderson. But until they do, Isiah Pacheco is a great pickup as well with Perine and Murray. Some wide receivers to look after here. Treylon Burks, we just mentioned him earlier, had a great season, right? Or a great game, I should say. 21 PPR fantasy points against the Packers defense that has been seeding. Unfortunately, he's available in 80% of leagues because he was hurt for about a month plus. He wasn't super effective. We know that the Titans want to run through Derrick Henry, but Treylon Burks is definitely somebody that you could pick up down the stretch here. And with any other injuries or once we have a bye week in week 13 and week 14, Treylon Burks is certainly a guy I would be excited about on my rosters as a stash, a bye week replacement, but also just, an option there as my wide receiver 3, maybe a flex, a second flex. You could do worse there with big time upside as he gets healthy, hopefully. Next up, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, DPJ is somebody that Matt and Bob have been telling you to pick up for a couple of weeks. I'll be honest, I was not a hater per se, but I wasn't really feeling it because I just don't see the Browns offense throwing as much. Well, that was not the case. Amari Cooper had a massive game. So did Donovan Peoples-Jones last week against the Bills, who are not the same Bills, right? They're beat up in the secondary. Nonetheless, they played very well. 17 PPR leagues. He had a touchdown. Best game of 2022, DPJ. I like this kid a lot coming out of Michigan. It's just taken him a couple years to really grow into his own. He's the clear number 2 there, and they're going to be throwing the ball more often in some of these shootout games. And again, Deshaun Watson does come back in a couple of games. So regardless of what happens off the field, if he plays and he's active, Deshaun Watson should help this offense, maybe not in the first week or two, but certainly down the stretch for playoffs. So prepare for that now. DPJ available in 55% of leagues. Next up, kind of the nemesis, depending on what side of the fence you were on with this, but my boy, Josh Palmer. Right? Josh Palmer was picked up the last couple of weeks. Keenan Allen was out. Mike Williams was out for the Chargers. Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter have been amazing for the Chargers in a spot fill. So you plug and play. Well, now Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are going to play against the Chiefs. Let's take out DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer. Guess what? Mike Williams gets hurt within minutes after a great catch. Josh Palmer goes up and he dominates. He's available in 40% of leagues. Go see if he's still available. Mike Williams did get injured, missed the second half of the game. Keenan Allen is just really hit or miss right now. Josh Palmer is definitely somebody I want on my roster, especially if I have Keenan Allen or Mike Williams as the rare wide receiver handcuff. So keep an eye on Josh Palmer there for the Chargers as well. A couple deeper names. Jarvis Landry played well. He had a really clutch deep first down on a 3rd and long at the end of the game, and he caught a touchdown there. Available in 78% of leagues. Again, very reliable. Jarvis Landry finally healthy after a couple of months. Demarcus Robinson for the Ravens, available in 95% of leagues. This is very, very deep, but if you need kind of a flyer, you could pick up him or Kendall Hinton, who I was kind of joking about on the Sunday live show, but he ended up having a pretty good game. He's only rostered in one single percent of leagues. So he's available in 99% of leagues. Him and Demarcus Robinson and pretty much Jarvis Landry are free. Feel free to go out there if you need a deep flyer or you have a bunch of bye weeks coming up in week 13 or 14. Finally, tight ends, Juwan Johnson. We've been giving Bob a little bit of crap on the show, just kind of poking some fun because he placed a bet essentially and didn't write out the full thing. And then Juwan Johnson went off and now we all just kind of throw shade on him because that's what you do when you're buddies. But in, serious talk, I mean, Juwan Johnson's been absolutely dominant, right? He's been a tight end 4 twice, a tight end 8 over the last 3 weeks. He's got 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games. He's seeing 50% of the snaps, and he's available in 70% of leagues. People don't want to start him because he's not a popular name. They don't want to start people outside of Alvin Kamara on this offense, but the passes have to go somewhere. Andy Dalton likes the tight end. Taysom Hill might get a little more work. You could play him as your tight end, but he might play a little quarterback coming up soon. Maybe Jameson comes back in the fold. He's also liked his tight ends over the years there. So Juwan Johnson is certainly a streaming tight end minimum. I think he's a weekly play at this point. So if you need a tight end, I like Juwan Johnson quite a bit. And then you have Logan Thomas for the Washington Commanders, 6% rostered. He's not Logan Thomas of last year. Of course, he's still recovering from that injury. Isaiah Likely, strictly a handcuff for Mark Andrews. But if Mark Andrews is out or he's limited, you can certainly throw him in there. And then Noah Fant, the Seattle Seahawks are coming off of a bye. Will Dissly is kind of a touchdown or bust guy, but Noah Fant has been a guy that has been a little bit more consistent and regular there for the Seattle Seahawks. Okay, if I missed any of your favorite waiver wire ads for week 12, make sure to drop them below when you hit that bell so you don't miss any of our alerts throughout the week. And you can also leave a comment and let me know who your favorite waiver wire ad is for this week. And maybe if you have any trade conversations, again, we go back on these episodes, try to get to all the comments and things. So if you have any trade conversations in the last week, please do let me know. I'm going to take just 1 second to catch my breath as I'm doing this episode by myself. Those of you on the podcast, we so appreciate you listening on the go. Make sure to leave us a rate and review. We much appreciate it. 5-star ratings will be read on the air. And those of you on the YouTube channel, of course, we appreciate you viewing in every single time. And make sure to catch us Sunday morning, 2 hours before kickoff. We used to do 3 hours before kickoff, and we're plenty busy. This week, we're going to take a little extra time with the fams. little Thanksgiving chill. We'll do 2 hours for you Sunday morning. So make sure to come in and check us out at 8 a.m. Pacific time and 11 a.m. Eastern time before kickoff. All of your start sit questions and trade talk. We have kicker reports. We have weather reports. We have injury reports right here on the Razzball Fantasy Football YouTube show. I'm going to take 1 second to catch my breath, and then I will get into my strength of schedule here for the fantasy football playoffs. Bear with me. I'll be back in 10 seconds. All right. When I talk about strength of schedule, especially when I'm talking about the playoffs, a lot of people kind of aren't sure about strength of schedule with fantasy football. Does it matter? Does it not matter? There's different theories. I don't think it matters when you're drafting outside of maybe streaming quarterbacks, streaming tight ends, streaming defenses, streaming kickers. I don't think it matters for after the first month of the season when you're drafting. Too much changes. Injuries happen. Defenses develop. They fall off. Position battles happen. Rookies develop. Offensive linemen get hurt, right? Position battles are won. I just don't think that strength of schedule matters when you're drafting as much. But after about week 5, week 6, second month, third month, second half of the season, I started paying attention more. And now, right now, we're in the back, third, about 3 quarters into the season now. We're looking at the fantasy playoffs in just 3 weeks. Now is when I start paying attention. This is when I might look to get a big name player who's usually a spot, he's an auto start essentially at quarterback, running back, wide receiver. And now it's like, I'm looking at the name, I'm looking at the consistency or the big play potential, the upside, what have you. And I'm thinking, you know what? This guy's been great and he's got me to this point. But every single year, we see big-time players flop in the playoffs. As we know, it takes one bad performance for your fantasy team and you're toast. Hopefully you haven't been on this side of the fence, but I'm sure you've seen it in your leagues. How often does the team that gets the first round bye, right? They end the season, they're crushing. They got 2 losses, maybe 3 losses, 1 loss on the season. They get the first round bye, they're crushing it. They come up in that, semifinal or whatever, and their team lays a dud. The team that got them all the way there, the team that dominated the league, led the league in points all season long, has one single week where the guys underperform, and all of a sudden that giant juggernaut team is out of the fantasy playoffs. Happens every single year, right? So we want to avoid that obviously best that we can. And I'm not saying sell your studs. I'm not saying bench your best players. It's obviously ridiculous. All I'm saying is, after this conversation we're about to have, consider as you're going week to week, your stud players that you usually gloss over when you're setting a roster, right? You're like, of course I'm going to play Justin Herbert, right? Of course I'm going to play, Alvin Kamara. Of course I'm going to play, DK Metcalf, right? Sometimes those guys have a negative performance, and you can almost predict it a little bit because of the matchup coming up every single week. We're still playing in a week-to-week tournament, essentially. Now, in the regular season, you make one of those bad moves and you kind of go, uh-oh, I probably should have played Gabe Davis. He just had 2 90-yard touchdown receptions, right? Okay, you missed it. No big deal. Now you know moving forward, check the matchups. Okay? Or Darren Waller a couple years ago, 17 targets, right? Like, okay. Unfortunately, though, we don't see the negative ones as often. So I want to just kind of bring up some of the names that I guarantee are in your starting rosters right now, and just consider over the next 3 weeks heading into the playoffs, and then during the playoffs, consider these matchups overall and collectively, and maybe you sit your stud instead of start your stud for a hotter commodity, a hotter player. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown last year was somebody that should have started every single week down the stretch, right? And people were playing guys like DK Metcalf every single week because you're supposed to, and he was throwing you duds every week. Right? So be careful week to week. Let's talk about it. Quarterback position. Again, I'm not saying to trade these guys for nothing or sit them automatically. I'm simply just bringing up the difficulty overall in their schedules come playoff time. Tua Tagovailoa, 4th toughest schedule. Kirk Cousins, 5th toughest schedule. Patrick Mahomes has the 6, but obviously you're not sitting Patrick Mahomes. He's one of the few players where no matter what, you're playing Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow, 7th toughest, and he still doesn't have Jamar Chase, and now he doesn't have Joe Mixon. Keep that in mind. Justin Fields, 9th toughest. He's the 5th leading rusher in all of the NFL, but he is averaging 15 passing plays per game, or pass attempts, I should say, per game. By far the lowest in the NFL. So if he doesn't have a good rushing game, he's not going to have a good passing game. Love Justin Fields as a player, but he's beat up. He's got a shoulder injury. Coming down the stretch, it could be tough. That's somebody that I might look to have, a streamer about. So again, Tua, Cousins, Mahomes, Burrow, and Fields all have between the 4th and the 9th toughest schedules for quarterbacks. Let's talk about running backs. Josh Jacobs. If you've been listening to this program or my content over the years, you know how I feel about Josh Jacobs. If he's not getting his 18 to 20 touches per week and he doesn't score a touchdown, he's going to get you, 7 fantasy points. That's not going to cut it for a top 5 running back that you're expecting to get 20 because he's a top 5 running back. Even Derrick Henry has 2 or 3 games a year where he gets you 6 fantasy points because they shut him down and they boat race the team, right? The Raiders defense is trash. They face good teams down the stretch. He might be in trouble. Consider either moving from Josh Jacobs and getting a couple pieces if you need a better wide receiver, a top-end tight end, maybe better quarterback, maybe 2 RB2s to fill a slot for an injury or something like that. Josh Jacobs has the toughest fantasy playoff schedule. Joe Mixon, hurt, missing this game to concussion. Hopefully he comes back before, after that, but 2nd toughest. Nick Chubb, 3rd leading rusher in the NFL, 3rd toughest schedule. Now, Deshaun Watson coming back should help, but maybe they throw the ball more instead of run the ball as much. That one's kind of tough with Nick Chubb. Saquon Barkley, 2nd leading rusher in the NFL, 4th toughest matchup. Now, Saquon is kind of matchup proof because he's so great in the passing game. But again, I think we all think and expect the Giants to come back down to earth sometime soon. They still have 0 receivers, right? They have nobody that strike. Yes, Darius Slayton has been playing well. I'll give him that. But they don't have like a wide receiver core that keeps defenses honest. Saquon Barkley is just all world, and he makes plays, and he's getting it done with volume and pass catching. But if he gets mildly shut down, they don't have the offense to like work around him and open him back up. Nervous about Saquon. Again, don't just ship him off. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm just simply mentioning that some of our top-end, top-tier studs have tough matchups heading into the playoffs. Austin Eckler, 5th toughest. Kenneth Walker, 6th toughest, coming off of a bye week this week. We'll see if he holds that ground there in the Seahawks backfield. Aaron Jones, 7th toughest. Can he fend off A.J. Dillon the rest of the way? James Conner, can he stay healthy? And can the Cardinals continue to be somewhat of a startable offense? They look bad overall. Yes, he scored. Yes, he gets the volume, but they're not looking good at all right now. 8th toughest schedule. And then Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert, 9th toughest schedule. Most people are most excited about Jeff Wilson. Raheem Mostert's an option too. Keep an eye on both those guys. But again, unfortunately, that's your toughest through number 9 for running backs. Now, wide receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster out last week with a pretty brutal concussion. He has the toughest schedule. He's been playing very well, right? He's been a top 10 wide receiver in PPR the last couple of weeks he's played. Patrick Mahomes seems to have him as his number 1 guy outside of Travis Kelce, obviously. So that looks great moving down the stretch. And I'm not saying, ditch Juju automatically because of the schedule, because he's getting the volume with the Chiefs. However, again, they play a team where they want to run a little bit more. Pacheco looks good. Mahomes can throw to anybody at any time. And Travis Kelce can go off for literally 3 or 4 touchdowns any given week. So just kind of pump the brakes maybe on Juju. Take a look there. He also might be a buy low candidate, which I know is kind of ironic with me talking about this, but he was out for a week and now he's got a tough schedule. People are looking ahead. Might be a buy low candidate for Juju because he's going to give you that volume at least. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs also on this list. 2nd, 4th, and 7th toughest schedule respectively. I can't imagine the playoffs you're going to, bench a guy like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, or Stephon Diggs. But again, depending on the rest of your roster, like if I had Justin Jefferson who got embarrassed by Darius Slay and the Eagles, If they play another really tough passing defense or a buckle cornerback or something down the stretch, and I've got, I don't know, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, somebody like that, T. Higgins as my number 2, my number 3, and I can maybe flop that out, right? And I got like a Tyler Lockett, DK, who would be good enough. Brandon Ayuk's playing hot, somebody like that. It's not impossible to consider benching a guy like Justin Jefferson for a game if you don't like the matchup. And it's less about him. It's more about Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins could get beat up this week. He did last week, right? Justin Jefferson still got his, but I'm a little bit nervous about Kirk Cousins in general in primetime games when the pressure's on. So keep an eye there. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, pretty much auto starts, but again, 4th toughest. Jamar Chase, when he comes back, how healthy will he be? T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, 5th toughest for the Bengals there. Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, 7th toughest. Gabe Davis, we know, is boom or bust. And Stephon Diggs is pretty much, foolproof, but something to consider. And then I did mention Amon-Ra St. Brown as a fill-in, but he has the 10th toughest schedule there among wide receivers as well. Whew. All right, folks. That's going to wrap it up for me. I appreciate everybody hanging out here on a Tuesday evening. I'm trying to get this in here before we get into the long weekend, and I hope everybody's finishing up work in your day jobs nice and strong. Finish high, right? We want to be high performers in our lives. We want to be productive, and we want to live on a high note. We want to produce on a high note. So make sure you're finishing strong. Don't phone it in, right? Don't be weak at the end because you're tired and you're ready for the holiday. Finish strong. Be a good example. Set the tone for the rest of your team. And make sure when you walk out of your office or if you're working from home or whatever it is, you leave there heading into Thursday, Friday off. You're feeling strong about your week and your commitments so you can veg and watch football. You can enjoy your food and your beverages and your family time. Maybe it's mud football somewhere. Maybe you're going to have some fun watching whatever. Maybe you get in the Christmas spirit right after, right? Those of you that get into Black Friday stuff, be careful out there. People are insane these days, literally. So be safe, y'all. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you for hanging out with myself and my entire team here at Razzball. We are so grateful for everybody helping us build the football side of this brand this year. Has been immense. The flagship is baseball. I'm a big baseball fan myself. The baseball has been the flagship for Razzball for a very long time. But with your help and the listeners and the viewers and everybody supporting us, it's been amazing to pop up this channel this year on the football side and really get after it. So on behalf of my whole team, thank you so much for being a part of that. It really means the world to us. So be safe and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the 3 games on Thursday and the full slate on Sunday. Again, no bye weeks this week. So get your final trades in. Hit that waiver wire strong. Find me on Twitter for any last-minute mentions at Sky Guasco, SkyGuasco. You can find everything Razzball at razzball.com. Of course, Razzball Fantasy on Twitter. You can subscribe and hit the bell right here. Leave a comment of your favorite waiver wire ad and maybe your tough start sits heading into the rest of the week. Join us every single Sunday morning, and this Sunday morning at 8 a.m. or 11 a.m. Eastern or Pacific, respectively, so we can get 2 hours of your start sit questions. And, of course, make sure to download the podcast as well, which is the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. I appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Awesome solo show for me tonight, breaking down the Week 12 Waiver Wire Adds in the Fantasy Playoff Strength of Schedule preview for Weeks 15 through 17. On behalf of all of my friends and my teammates here at Razzball, I'm your host, Sky Guasco. Have a very safe and enjoyable Thanksgiving. Enjoy your football, enjoy your food, enjoy your family. We'll catch you on the next go-round. Have fun, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.